Good morning, everybody. Jack Leasing with StartupTrading.com. It is 9:10 here in the morning on the 19th of November, and the title of the video is 20,317 gravity for the NQ. And what that is, we're inside of and continue to be inside of this extension in the NASDAQ that is drawn from the September 11th high. And, we've already checked the 38. We've seen participation there. We've made new lows. We've just swept the liquidity here. And if we can get below, of course, we need to get below this overnight low. That very well may have just been a liquidity sweep. Then I'm going to be looking for a move down to the 50% of that level, 20,317. If we do not take out this most recent low, then I would fully expect us to rally up into the short from yesterday. And there's a lot of volatility here that just kind of picked up around 8 o'clock this morning. We've dropped over 200 points from that high, and what that was at the time was this 50% retracement from yesterday's high to low. So Monday's high to that overnight low was sold into. We completed targets, and that same high to the new low, if we hold these overnight lows at this point in time, we're going to probably rally back up into that setup, and that's where I would look for really only shorts up there. As we go into the open, for me, we're kind of in no man's land. You have the option of selling into that next traditional from that 7 a.m. high to low, but I think that's a little aggressive going into the open at this point in time. But if we'll see what happens. If we do defend these overnight lows here, we could easily run back up into that 20,552. And if we do not, I fully expect us to get down to that 20,317 here today. And then there's also, from the measured resistance point of the prior day, that downside target is going to be 20,260. So really anything below 20,260 here today, I would only be looking long after we put in a swing low. So if we put in a swing low, so that's a low that holds for 25 minutes after getting down to 20,260, that might be a potential low you could trade against. But at this point in time, I am bearish bias after this fat massive move down and just looking for retracements into the 20,552 level here for the NQ. Let me just blow this up real quick. So we'll see if we can work our way down to those profit targets and or just a test of the 50% retracement long. Look for a reaction out of that 20,317s. Maybe that's something you can trade against up into at least the 50% retracement short. If we get up at any point in time to Monday's high to whatever the low is, that would be a point of caution for any continuation longs. But other than that, I think we're going to be a little more two-sided here. With NVIDIA after the bell, I don't really expect huge moves in either way to kind of be a one-way directional move. If we are moving down earlier, I do expect a reflex to the midpoint, and same thing if we're moving higher, I'm expecting a reflex down to the midpoint. Moving on to the S&P 500. So same thing. I have this extension here from 12 o'clock, and that seems to be what we sold off from. The downside target there is a 58.52. We're about 20 some points above that level. The 58.87 is still that daily extension. At this point in time, we're defending the 61.8 still, and that is technically a valid draw. Until it breaks below the 58.48. So be aware if we get down to that. Let me turn on the extended session here. In the overnight session, we were up on that 59.27 resistance that we ran into during the day, and then this morning, right around 3 a.m. European Open, just a swift move lower. And then once again, we rallied all the way off those targets into a full 50% retracement short. We sold off again to the bottom of the range. Watch again that full 50% retracement short here, just using that same anchor. If we start seeing acceptance later in the day above these halfway back shorts, the one I mentioned in the NASDAQ, as well as one of the ES, and we're seeing bids stay above this 58.94, that's when you're going to get the potential larger reversal. But at this point in time, this 58.94 should absolutely be respected. But you can see, out of this low, we had single print reversal, so single print down and then a single print right back up. basically equivalent to like an ATR reversal. In fact, that might even be an ATR reversal. This bar isn't showing up yellow, but it's 19 points, and the ATR is 13. So that is an ATR bar in the last 5 minutes here for the S&P 500. So expecting a rally up into 58.94s here off the open, and then taking a look at CL and GC, which are trending a little more aggressively. One of the things I'm interested in, let me blow up. So coming out of this low here in gold, we had this traditional that has completely blown through its profit target. We technically never got this next traditional. We just began rallying in a separate sequence, which is fairly aggressive. But what I'm going to look for is Thursday's high of last week, too high, using that as an extension anchor, and then paying attention to the 38 to 50% retracement zone. If we can get back into there, ideally that's going to be a 26.13 is at 50. If we can get back into there in the next couple days, that's really going to be an entry that I'd like to see trade for gold. And this has been a pretty strong move out of the lows. And gold was, prior to the election, really strong. I still think on the higher time frame it's extremely bullish, but we are most likely going to rally up into this full 50% retracement short from highs before finding any major resistance. Then we'll just have to see what GC ends up doing there, but that's going to be up at 26.71s for gold. All right, and then moving on to oil, also a really bullish move out of lows yesterday, similar to gold. You know, so I mean, this is all kind of dollar correlated trades, but you had this traditional blow through profit targets, and then overnight we've traded this extension. I'd still like to see us come back. We were front run, so I'd look for maybe a sweep of that overnight low, and then evidence that it's holding, because I just don't want us to sweep into that overnight low, and then we could very well run all the way back down into the halfway back long from this Sunday night low. And if we did that, that would be like a blind limit level I'd look for. I was looking for the next traditional yesterday. We just never got it. We never got a deeper pullback. But if we can get into the $68 level here in CL, I'd anticipate some buyers to show up, especially after this type of aggressive impulse move higher. But if we do continue higher without pulling back, that extension is held. The opportunity to get in that trade is over, and you'll just have to wait for a completion. And if we get up to the 69.91, that would mean the extension target would have completed, and this is an old traditional that kind of never traded in the low before breakdown. So everything above 69.91, potential short opportunities here in CL to pay attention to. But that's what I have. I am catching a flight here shortly, so not sure how much trading I'm going to do today. Did some in the pre-market, and I'm not going to probably be at my desk later on to close by the time I get back to Chicago. But I'll share these levels with you guys in the room. Everybody trade safe. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you there. NQ is pushed through its 50. We'll see if the ES does. It's back at that 58.94 if that ends up holding. But if we're pushing above these shorts that I mentioned and holding, then it's probably going to just be a move back to the prior day high. All right, guys, I gotta run to catch a flight, but I'll be paying attention on my phone for at least the time being. But yeah, if we push up through these 50s, then I think it's going to be longs out of the low. And if we hold them, we're going to be looking for that move to a new low. But I think that might have just been a liquidity sweep in the overnight session. That's kind of how this rebound is looking.